All right, it's Friday. We're going to a client's house, and we got FSD 12.5.6.3 getting onto the 520 bridge here in Seattle. And let's go. And since I can't use the phone and listen to anything, I guess I'll talk about the current events for a few minutes. I'm excited about RFK Jr. as the head of Health and Human Services Department with the federal government. I think his intentions are good. I 100% agree that the food we're eating, or whether known or unknown to us, well, while they are on an ingredients list, people don't quite understand what like yellow number 5 or red food coloring is, and they eat it, and it's unnecessary in most. It's actually 100% unnecessary. It's not there for flavor. And things like Surge or Mountain Dew or all these sports drinks that have that yellow number 5 or any other food coloring, the stuff is just straight horrible for our system, and it is doing vastly more harm than good. Sports drinks in general, or soda pop, is terrible. It's not actually as bad as it would be if it was real sugar, but we put something called high fructose corn syrup in our soda pops here in the United States. They're sweeter, and it's a different flavor profile. Now, that's why if you go to what's popular now is the Mexican Coca-Cola. It's not that it's actually Mexican, it's just that they put real sugar in it as opposed to high fructose corn syrup, and it's the way it's supposed to taste. It is more expensive, but in my opinion, well worth it if you're going to have the treat. So yeah, that's a big front, is the absolute crap that's in food. I generally have noticed that they say you have like a gluten allergy, right? And I don't actually think it was a gluten allergy that was making me sick from bread, because I did switch to eat some bread from the natural store, or PCC in our area. If you eat the bread from frozen pizza from that was originated from Italy, the bread is a different feedstock of the flour, and it doesn't upset my stomach. And there's a lot of junk in the wheat and pizza and anything you're eating here. So yes, that may be playing a part in why a lot of people have a lot of ailments and a lot of inflammation. It's totally unnecessary. It's just the crap preservatives and things that are in the food. I'm not saying we have to go totally organic or things like that. Certain things is just impractical. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to push the car a little bit and scoot over to the right, because there is a vehicle that was coming up behind me. FSD isn't quite good about moving to the right and then getting into the left lane and going around like you're supposed to do. This is what we do in the West is not the greatest. As soon as you have passed these series of vehicles, you're supposed to pull over to the right and let other traffic pass, and not make this giant wall of cars if possible. Anyway, that's that's RFK Jr. Really excited. Yellow number 5 is just the tip of the iceberg that's killing us. And I'm also excited about the Department of Government Efficiency. I don't really know how far these guys are going to get. Dealing with government spending is like dealing with an octopus or a matrix. There's so many components, and same with RFK Jr. So let's say you want to take the high fructose corn syrup out of soda pop. Well, what's the first state to vote? Iowa. And they're big into corn production. So you have this double-edged sword. Are people going to cry? Because if you basically reduce the demand for corn to make high fructose corn syrup, then you're basically devaluing the crop of a state. So then you're going to get a bunch of angry people and phone calls. The other problem with government efficiency offices, our government does a lot of things it knowingly knows is inefficient. But we do it because it's popular. There is a jobs program in certain communities, and people will just start crying. So for example, we have a lot of unnecessary or redundant military bases as post offices. And and other things across the United States. A lot of these be closed, shut down, and consolidated into a larger facility, into existing large facilities that we have, or just closed. You don't. For example, we had a lot of airfields built after World War II. Well, guess what? Planes didn't fly that far before needing refueling. You needed waypoints, and they were slow. So we had a lot of airfields. You don't need those anymore. Or post offices, but I think it was like 10, 15 years ago, there's a move to close a consolidated bases, and people were just fighting to keep these open because, well, it's the primary jobs creator in some of these rural or small towns. They're not big city bases that can just absorb or take the hit of the reduced property values as the trooper money runs out. Because if you don't have soldiers sitting around, all the restaurants and things like that, they're out of business. So you keep this base open unnecessarily. Well, it has really nothing to do with military readiness. And anyway, that's my thought. So you're going to hit this gigantic problem of how to consolidate and reduce military spending, or just inefficiencies in the government. So, private companies make decisions every day on how to best efficiently serve their people. And we have a post office in every city. We don't necessarily need a post office. You just need a box somewhere. But no, we have a physical post office boxes, things like that. But we still have a lot of unnecessary post offices. And we have private vendors that can handle that load 100%. So FedEx, UPS, OnTrack, and other smaller delivery companies are out there, and they have the throughput of mail anyway. But people like the little post office they had in their town. So what do? You got to close them. And one can mimic to think that if you've ever been in our area, FedEx and UPS, sometimes their sorting facilities are very close to each other because someone did the math on what's the most efficient way. For example, I'm going to serve the Seattle metro area. So you put a sorting in, just like I'm putting up cell towers for a telecommunications company. You kind of notice they operate in you see cell towers in clusters in 3 or 4, or now they're kind of co-located. They always co-located, but because there was RF engineering would be like, well, you're going to put it on this top of this hill to serve the most people. And then they built 4 cell towers for this 4 competing cell operators. Well, now they just put one pole up from American Tower or Crown Castle, and they all hang their equipment on one pole. Very efficient, lease back to space. And then have one fiber connection, one backup generator, battery system, or solar cells to make it happen. So, switching back to FSD, it is a lane-changing expert, but it's getting it done. I have it on hurry mode in the upper limit, so it did a good job of not staying in the left lane, but that may have been because there is it had to exit soon, instead of just favoring staying in the left lane. Not sure, but we'll see. I kind of like the FSD will improve over the build's life, not by just learning from what your car is doing, but I've noticed if you have a router connected to Wi-Fi and you can see the traffic, there's traffic going up, so I'll transmit several gigs of data to the cloud, and then there is several hundred megabytes coming back during that time period. So obviously I don't know what's in there, but I could presume